Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Conor Bromley, of course, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Sunderland's clash with Everton in the FA Cup. And for me, this is a really important game for Sunderland because it looks like in the league we are going to hit our goal for the season, which is to stay up. That was the target at the first point when we first kicked the ball against West Ham. We all wanted Sunderland to stay up, and it looks like, barring some sort of disgraceful downturn in form where we lose all of our games for the rest of the season, it looks like that mission is nearly there, nearly done, and we can sign that off and say, yeah, Sunderland are going to do that. So then you look at, well, what else can we do this season? And, could we get into Europe, say, is a big one. And, can we do that through the league? I mean, currently, right now, we are 3 points away from 5th place, which is Brentford, the team that beat us, obviously, on Wednesday night. So Sunderland, it's fair to say at the minute, are in a little bit of a battle for a European place after 21 games of the season. But will they get there? Will they be able to maintain their form? Obviously, we don't know. But they've got a lot of players coming back. It does feel like Sunderland will be in and around kind of the top 10 to 12 this season, which, the way the league table is right now, means we've got probably a little bit of a chance to get in. But look, I don't think Sunderland have necessarily a really strong chance. I just think we've got a chance. So that lends you to think, well, should we target the FA Cup and try and go on a little bit of a cup run? Because it's been a long time since Sunderland have done anything really in the cup competitions. I think in League One we got to the Carabao Cup quarter-finals. And then other than that, I can't remember us getting particularly far in any competition since we got the final of the Carabao Cup in 2014. We got the FA Cup quarter-finals that year as well, didn't we? So, yeah, our record in cup competitions isn't great. And one of my big bugbears from earlier in the season was the Carabao Cup, that we went out of that competition so early. I don't think Regis got his team selection wrong that night. I think he did need to play some of the fringe players, but the fringe players needed to do better. And I think we sort of, come away from that out of the competition. For me, it was very disappointing that we were knocked out at that stage, because I think as well it meant that a lot of the fringe players weren't going to be able to get minutes. Players like Dan Neil, who haven't played a lot, players like, maybe Dennis Cirkin could have got more minutes in that competition. Luke O'Nien could have got minutes. We had some fringe players who needed minutes, who we weren't able to give because we got knocked out of the Carabao Cup so early. So I think the FA Cup's the chance to right that wrong. Now, to sort of preview the game, I think Everton right now are in a little bit of a, I don't know if a dark space is the right way of putting it, but they've played 2 home games. They've played Brentford at home and got absolutely smashed, conceded 4 goals, similar to what we did, to be fair. And then they drew with Wolves midweek, and they got a couple of red cards in that one as well. So Jack Grealish won't be playing, Michael Keane won't be playing in those games. Interested to see what people think of them red cards. I thought they both were, to be honest, but I know there's been a lot of outcry that maybe they weren't, but yeah, I thought they were. And if you look at the depth that Everton have right now, I think they are struggling a little bit in terms of, their star players. Iliman Ndiaye hasn't been playing recently. Tieno Barry, he's picked up a little bit recently in terms of scoring goals, but he's not been amazing so far. Harrison Armstrong, they're both back from loan from Preston. And yeah, you look at the bench, Tyler Diblin's on there. I think he'll probably play instead of Jack Grealish. Nathan Patterson, maybe. Mark Travers, who's the cover goalkeeper. Beto in there as well. Then the rest of them are all sort of, youth players. So I don't think this Everton team are necessarily strong. If you take out 2 players from suspensions and, any other injuries they've got, I think this Everton team is probably weaker in some senses than the Sunderland team. We know that the Sunderland team's quite weak right now because, we have had so many players at AFCON. Now, I'm recording this before Regis's press conference. My guess would be is that Ronaldo and Traore and Siddiqui and Masuaku, for that matter, probably will be in the squad. Will they play? I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if they'll get started or not, or whether or not they'll keep them for the Crystal Palace game the next weekend. But I think that this game should be treated very seriously by Sunderland, because when we are in the position we are in right now, where we look safe, the FA Cup represents the opportunity to do something special in the campaign. So I don't necessarily buy into making, massive wholesale changes. Sorry, if I look at the team that played on, and this is before obviously I get the team news in, but if I look at the team that played on Wednesday, Nordy, Alderete, Trey Hume, Dan Ballard, the back 4. Ballard came off, so you wonder if Ballard is still not necessarily at 100% fitness. Now, I do think that if we do have some issues with fitness and players, maybe playing through the pain barrier, I would potentially think about taking them out from this, because, you know, the Premier League is still important and you want to maintain that momentum in there. But I think if players are 100%, so for example, Granit Xhaka, if he's 100% fit, for me, he has to play the game. And I look at the rest of the team and I kind of apply the same logic. If players are 100%, they should play the game. And if they are playing at maybe 80 or 90%, they've got niggles, then I think I would take them out. You know, and we do have players on the bench we could look at. You know, Dennis Serkin could come in. So if we were to drop, say, Dan Ballard because of his recent injury problems, or pull out Mukiele or Alderete, then Dennis Serkin can go into the defence, and we can shuffle it around in that way. You've got, you know, Luke O'Nien. Do you bring him in and give him a chance in the team? You know, if there are injuries at the back, Remain Mundle, you know, I think that there's an argument to say that he should maybe start instead of Simon Adingra. I think that was an argument anyway if we were playing in the Premier League this weekend. I think Eliza Mayenda is another one we could look at and say, right, okay, does he deserve the chance to sort of come on and get some, you know, start the game and get some more minutes? Dan Neil came on against Brentford. Does he get a start in the game? Well, again, I think it depends on what the state of the team is in terms of injuries. But I think Sunderland need to line up at what they think is full strength. And if that means that, you know, we do see some players come in just because of the amount of games we've played, then fair enough. But I don't want to see 10 changes or 11 changes in this game. I think this game has to be treated seriously. We've got a massive amount of fans going down. And, you know, it's a real chance. It's a real opportunity for us to do something. Because we've also seen with the Sunderland team this season that if we are at 100%, we have a good chance of, you know, getting draws against anyone. And if you can draw with anyone, look, we've drawn with Arsenal. We've drawn with Liverpool, we've drawn with Man City, we've drawn with Aston Villa. They are the top 4 teams right now in the Premier League. So we've drawn with all them teams, and that means in a cup tie, that gives you a chance to beat them, doesn't it? Because you would get them in extra time, you would get them, you know, I don't think you do replays in the FA Cup, but you get extra time penalties. You've got a chance of winning those games. So Sunderland have proven they can hang with the best teams in the Premier League this season. So why not target the FA Cup and think that you can win, you know, or at least go deep into that competition? Because it's a chance to do something very, very special this season. So I want to see Sunderland at full strength, or as close to full strength as they could be. Do we bring in the AFCON players? Does Ronaldo go in there? But I don't know. Do you want to do that? I don't know if it makes sense to keep back the AFCON players, maybe have them on the bench, and then next weekend against Crystal Palace sort of integrate them fully back in. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I'd be interested to know what you guys think, though, in terms of what we should do with the team and whether or not we should change things around, whether or not we should, you know, make full rotation, whether or not we should be prioritising the Premier League over the FA Cup. For me, I want to see the FA Cup prioritised. I think the FA Cup has to be a big deal for Sunderland this season. And, you know, I'd love to be able to go back to Wembley. You know, we've had a lot of excursions to Wembley over the last few years. I would love the chance to do that. So for me, it's a very important competition. It's something that I think Sunderland should be targeting. And just before I sign off this one, I kind of want to reflect again a little bit on the Enzo Lefebvre situation, because when I recorded on Thursday morning after that game, I didn't do a hyper analysis of the game, to be honest, mainly because I was watching it in a bar, and, you know, you can't necessarily determine what's happening in a game and who's playing well and who isn't playing well. But I think the Lefebvre penalty, the more I've thought about it, I'm still a little bit annoyed about it, but I'm not as annoyed now. I think I've kind of made my peace with it. I think that if the decision was made to take the penalty like that because Kelleher is really good at saving penalties and they thought that they could outfox him, if that's a decision that's been made behind the scenes that, you know what, let's try this, because the manager didn't really go through Lefebvre after the game, then I do kind of get it, because Kelleher is a really good penalty saver. So I'm not as annoyed as I was the more I've sort of thought about it. But yeah, I just kind of want to reflect on that again, and I think we need to really back Enzo Lefebvre going forward, because he is one of our most important players. He's a player that's really bought into Sunderland, and he didn't have to make that move to the Championship last season, and he did, and he helped us get promoted. So just wanted to sort of give a bit of plaudits to Enzo Lefebvre and almost say I forgive you in a way for that mistake or that penalty miss against Brentford on Wednesday. But yeah, let me know what you would do for the FA Cup this weekend, whether or not you think Sunderland should take it seriously, or if you want to see rotation and priority in the Premier League. I'll be curious to see what people think. And yeah, we'll catch you again for another video. Thanks for watching.